Hey guys, and welcome back to Albert versus the Asylum. This time we're talking about a classic. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes as rendered by the Asylum. Yes, it's exactly as awesome as that sounds. The movie opens during World War II and the bombing of London, where we see an aged Watson sitting in his home listening to the bombs fall outside. Hey, where are the blackout curtains? Somebody shut off the light, close that window. Call the air ministry. You're gonna get us all killed, Watson.
I fear I haven't much time left in this world. There is something I feel should be recorded.
Is this one of your fantasy stories?
No, it's 100% true. It's got a sea monster. It's got a dinosaur. It's got steampunk Iron Man. None of this was made up. At all.
The chronicle of his greatest and least known accomplishment.
Dr. Watson. Who is he?
You're talking to Dr. Watson, woman. I'm pretty sure he's not going to tell you about the crime-solving adventures he had with P.T. Barnum.
It all began with some very strange occurrences.
It also continued with some very strange circumstances, and ended with some very strange circumstances. There was just strange circumstances all over the place. So we see something attack the ship. Something with tentacles, and big ones. I'm gonna put your fears to rest. This is not going to turn into a mega shark versus giant octopus thing. In the next scene, we find a younger version of Dr. Watson beginning a post-mortem examination.
Ah, there you are.
Holmes! You scared the life out of me.
Scared the life out of you? What about the guy on the table? Am I right? But So they go to see Lestrade. He tells them about the attack on the ship and reveals that it was carrying money from the colonies. Plot point! Watson goes to examine the only survivor of the attack.
It had arms. As long as masts. Black as the devil. But it pulled the ship down. All the way down. Into the water. And all my mates, every one of them, drowned! Or crushed by the monster!
I would put this scene in competition with the most over-the-top performance I've seen all year. The only problem is, there's no way it would beat Transformers and the dude yelling,
Algorithms! Math! Why can't we make what we want to make the way we want to make it?
because that scene was just bonkers. Watson and Lestrade are understandably skeptical about the man's story about the giant tentacle monster, but Sherlock says he wants to check out the site of the wreck for himself. Sherlock and Lestrade discuss Sherlock Holmes' missing brother. Not Mycroft. Another dude. Mycroft isn't in this one. Also, I'm sure this will have no bearing on the plot later on, at all. This seems like a good time to point out that they actually shot this film in Wales. And it really shows. Because you get flavor from the scenery and the background. This scene in particular, complete filler. Serves no purpose to the rest of the movie whatsoever. Much like many of the scenes in this movie, actually. But it looks awesome!
If one were harnessed and lowered down, one should get a view of the ship.
Holmes,
I really think you ought not to do this.
Of course I shouldn't. You should.
Oh, that is the best. Sherlock Holmes is kind of a dick.
Is everything all right?
I think he's okay now, sir.
This is a really small little moment, but I really love it. Because it shows that even though Sherlock is putting on this aloof, intellectual, highbrow, I don't care about anything facade, he actually really does care about Watson. He lets his guard down for just a second, and he's like, is he okay? And the guy's like, yeah. So he's like, all right, of course. Whatever. I'm still Sherlock Holmes. Watson sees a man in the water near where the wreck took place. And then he climbs back up the cliff for help. Am I missing something here? You're a doctor. Not only are you a doctor, you're already halfway down to the dude. Are you scared of heights? Is this you running away from a dude who's drowning because you're afraid of heights? Because that's hilarious.
What did you see down there?
Nothing. Nothing. It's an empty ship.
What about the guy in the water? The one who was drowning. You said you would get help like 2 minutes ago. In the next scene, we see this man strolling through the slums of London looking for a prostitute.
Are you, as if I wanted to, are you Miss Pinchcock?
You know, this is just off the top of my head, but maybe you don't want to have sex with someone with a name like Pinchcock. That is an excellent rebuttal.
And what's your name, love?
John.
Is it now?
Yes, it is.
Oh, the perennial plight of Johns who are actually named John. Yes! There is a dinosaur in this Sherlock Holmes movie with Sherlock Holmes. Yes! It is almost the most awesome thing ever. You would think they've gotten to the most awesome. Like, the meter was over here and then it went because of the tentacle monster. And then, like, we've got the dinosaurs like and you're like, oh no, they can't get the needle any farther. Trust me, they're gonna get the needle farther. Just a little bit. They're just gonna, boom. Awesome. Excuse me, are you Mrs. Pinchcock? My name's John. Well, fine. Didn't think it was a good idea to have sex with somebody named Pinchcock anyway.
Monster attack in Whitechapel. Sally Fassbinder, one of the unfortunate women who ply their trade in the East End.
A prostitute?
I know what it means.
Sure you do.
This version of Sherlock Holmes is hilarious. That morning, Sherlock and Watson go walking in the park.
Seems weaker than usual. Come on, Holmes. Not everything's a clue.
How much would you like to bet that it's not a clue? How much? Here's a hint. Don't bet any money. It's totally a clue. Watson's wrong. They find a dinosaur footprint in the dirt, and then something chases them through the woods. I'm gonna be 100% honest with y'all here. I'm not sure what's going on in this scene. Like, even a little bit. Watson's running one way with Sherlock, and then he's running the other way, apparently still being chased by the dinosaur, and Sherlock's just hanging out, like, looking at the ground, letting Watson get chased by the dinosaur. And then there's a pump, or there used to be a... I'm confused, is what I'm saying.
I better report this mess.
Why didn't you tell him
Tell him what?
what we saw?
What exactly did we see, Doctor?
Well, it was a big...
A dinosaur. It's called a dinosaur. You are a doctor of medicine, an educated person. you should know what a dinosaur is.
Well, what would this creature want with a water pump?
What indeed?
You know what's sad? I've seen this movie 3 times now, and I still don't know what a dinosaur needs with a water pump. Of course, Watson has to take a break from solving crimes of Sherlock Holmes because, you know, he has a real job.
These are very powerful medications.
Indeed, Doctor. I am in a great deal of pain.
Please, Doctor. Do we look like opium fiends?
You do not.
And believe me, he should know. Because he hangs out with Sherlock Holmes. Watson, true to form, hits on the woman who is with the patient, but he's interrupted by a phone call from Sherlock. You can tell these are the very early days of telephone technology because Sherlock Holmes is just holding a stick up to his ear with a wire taped to it. Watson and Holmes go to investigate a copper factory. After he recovers from his injury, Holmes tells Watson that he's analyzed a scrap of the dinosaur's skin and found it to be rubber. Do you see where they're going with this? Do you see where they're going with this? I told you, they moved the dial from here all the way over to here, and you think, oh no, it's not going to go any further. Because it's got a dinosaur, and it's got Sherlock Holmes, you think, it can't get more awesome than that. It's not just a dinosaur with Sherlock Holmes. It's a robot dinosaur. It's a robot dinosaur! Steampunk robot dinosaur and Sherlock Holmes in the same movie.
We're seeking information about one of your recent customers.
I've got loads of customers.
You'd remember this one. He didn't come for gamma raises or gouges. He ordered roughly 500 tons and paid him to make a gold.
The owner of the rubber factory tries to put them off, but Holmes threatens to expose him for using illegal migrant workers.
What's the purpose? Well, he needed money to buy the dinosaur, and a dinosaur to steal the waterworks.
Okay, wait. Our villain has built a sea monster to steal money. He uses that money to build a dinosaur, which he then uses to steal a water pump. What? Couldn't he have just, like, stolen the water pump to start with? Or, I don't know, here's a crazy idea. He had the money to build a sea monster in the first place. Couldn't he have just built a pump on his own? Or, like, bought one on Victorian London steampunk eBay? I'm just saying, this plan is a little bit convoluted. And it still doesn't explain what we needed the water pump for. Here's the thing. You think, once again, this plan got as convoluted as it can get. It hasn't. It's more convoluted than that. The rubber maker is blown out of the factory window, and moments later the entire factory is blown to smithereens. Where's Lestrade? What about all those migrant workers in the factory that you were going to tell the government about? These guys are kind of douchey.
Charlotte, embedded in Mr. Walton's remains. The only thing on it remained uncharred, suggesting that it must have become attached to him as he was thrown onto the street. This glass is the only place in England that contains Charlotte.
Why? You're saying the killer brought rubble with him into the city to plant on people that he was going to blow up? This is not how clues work. How did that rock get there? Watson and Holmes break into the castle and they find the robot dinosaur and sea monster creatures. Then they fight Steampunk Iron Man. Oh yeah! Watson is knocked out. Sherlock tries to fight Steampunk Iron Man, but the woman from earlier intervenes.
Drop your weapon, if you please.
Glad to see your skill with the blade has not diminished, Robert.
Yeah. In this movie, Sherlock Holmes' real first name is Robert. Anyway, Steampunk Iron Man, who also happens to be Sherlock Holmes' long-lost brother, says that he's out for revenge because there was a stray bullet that hit him and paralyzed him so many years ago that came from Lestrade's gun. This has not stopped getting dumb. I will tell you when we've got to maximum dumbness, we're approaching the dumbness horizon. But we're not there yet. Trust me, it gets worse. Holmes charges his brother, but Ivory shoots him.
He's away.
All the better. Would you pass me that, my dear?
Yeah. Sherlock Holmes' evil genius brother built himself a robot steampunk girlfriend. Let the awesomeness and the weirdness of that just wash over you. Soak it all in.
I suggest you move as little as possible, Doctor. The gyroscopic device you are attached to is designed to pull the chains apart until it tears your limbs from their sockets.
You know, this is the problem with supervillains. You have your captive. You want him dead. You have a gun. What do? You tie him to a device that was going to rip his limbs out very, very slowly so he has a chance to escape. For no reason. Shoot him! And speaking of convoluted plans, Steampunk Iron Man, Thorpe Holmes, has a robot dragon. Let's start off with the requisite, woo! Robot dragons are awesome! But, let's follow that up with, why does he have a robot dragon? He has a robot dragon so that he can use it to destroy London and frame Lestrade for building a robot dragon to destroy London. Let's recap in case you've forgotten. Thorpe Holmes built a mechanical sea monster, stole some money with it, used the money to build a mechanical dinosaur, to steal a water pump. I don't know what that has to do with the mechanical dragon, but somehow that led to him building a mechanical dragon so that he could use the mechanical dragon to blow up London, at which point he assumes that he can create a trail of evidence that will lead people to believe that Inspector Lestrade, in his spare time from being a police officer, found time to build a robot dragon and blow up London with it. Heinz Doofenshmirtz thinks this is a dumb plan. Okay? This is how bad that plan is. I'm losing my voice because of how dumb this plan is. I've seen it all. I've seen it all. This is the end. This is the end of anything that makes sense. I'm just going to go off. I'm just going to be crazy. Nothing else in the movie is going to make up for this. It's weird. So, of course, Sherlock Holmes is still alive. He escapes from the contraption. He gets Watson, sends Watson after the Clockwork Lady. Then there's a balloon, and they have a big balloon fight. and somehow the dragon doesn't destroy the balloon immediately. Like, the dragon flies around blowing up London, but it breathes fire against Sherlock Holmes' dinky little balloon, and it several times does not burst into flames and plummet out of the sky. Watson catches up with the Clockwork Lady, injects her with something. Who knows how that works, because she's a robot, but that stops her, and Sherlock Holmes shoots the dragon out of the sky also somehow, and then there's a thing, and I'm still blowing my mind out over how dumb this plan is. Everybody lives happily ever after. Thorpe Holmes gets killed. Lestrade goes on being a crazy idiot. Do we even need to mention the fact that there was a giant robot dragon bombing London? And it didn't come down to us in the history at all? Like, they managed to cover that up? By the time World War II rolls around, like 60 years later, this maid had never heard of the giant robot dragon invasion of London. Anyway, Watson finishes his story in the future, or the past, or whenever it is that old Watson is. And the maid asks him if it's a true story again. It's true. Ladies and gentlemen, all of this that we have just told you actually happened. And in case you doubted, in case you thought that Watson made all this up to just screw with this maid right before he died so that she would go around telling people that a robot dragon invaded London and nobody remembered because Dr. Watson said so, in case you thought that might have been the thing, which that would have been awesome. That would have been hilarious. Like, he's just old and senile and rambling at this point. He don't even care. But no, because the maid goes to visit Watson's grave, and the Clockwork Lady shows up visiting Thorpe's grave. She's still around. She's still kicking and ticking like a Clockwork Lady should, and that is awesome. So that was the Asylum's Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes. It waffles in between being hilarious and awesome and just being completely baffling. The things it does right, it does really well. The characters are hilarious and fun and awesome. That the Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson that they make are really close and, true to the actual characters of Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson from the original novel. The problem is the mystery makes no sense. And I mean no sense. You just kind of got to go on from scene to scene and be like, there's a dinosaur, there's a sea monster, there's steampunk Iron Man, there's Clockwork Girlfriend Lady, there's a robot dragon, yay! And believe me, that's how I watch this movie. But if you apply even the smallest smidgen of logic, the whole thing just blows away in a puff of smoke and dust. Oh well. You know what we did get out of this, though? Robot dinosaur. We are that much closer to getting a zombie dinosaur. Robots are almost zombies. They're kind of alive and kind of not. But it's not good enough. Until next time, I'm Albert Berg. I don't even know.
Brains. Rawr.